Hey Facebook, Edwin Culver here, artist and creator who expresses the burdens of others so they no longer have to bear them alone. Going to be doing the signing of these CDs, part number 2 tonight. Get my laptop ready here because see I got a couple messages coming in already. But while I'm getting that set up, of course, got to get the obligatory Coca-Cola going. We got through about half of the CDs last time, and I was really having a fun time talking about each person who's pre-ordered one and being able to kind of give them a shout out here. Some of them are musicians, some of them are friends, some of them are family, some of them, honestly are on other parts of the world. It's really kind of humbling to be able to do this. So without any further ado, I got my marker, I got CDs here, and we're going to start signing these in just a moment. We sign in over here, check out who's messaging. And I promise, guys, this is the last time the pre-order link is going to be live. I'm usually not that greedy and keep posting this sort of stuff, but we just ran out of time last time trying to get through these. So I got a hard deadline this time, so that'll get me through them a little faster tonight, I think. But Facebook.com, Edwin Culver. And if you have any questions along the way here, let's see if I can adjust this. Boom. Yeah, here we go. You can go listen to me on Spotify, by the way, in case you haven't checked out my page lately. And let's see, last time we ended with Marv and Sue Gerbig. I signed their CD. Let's see how far we are now. And I guess while we're waiting for that, I'll tell you guys, because last time I only told you the meaning of the first piece on this CD, but I'll tell you a little bit about the meaning of, let's do the second piece on this CD, and then later on in this video I'll tell you about the last piece and what inspired me to write that piece. But I'll read a little bit of the description that's on the inside here. It's the second piece is called "And She Was with Such Grace," and so honestly, this piece was a love song, and the person to whom it was composed, their middle name happened to be Grace. So I thought it kind of worked out really well to dedicate this piece to them. It's also written in the key of G major, so it's kind of like G, Grace. We got those ties there, and it kind of struck me. I think I was practicing one evening, rehearsing some music, and somehow, my fingers, the idea just kind of fell into place, and I started playing the opening motif to this music. And if you get the CD and you listen to the opening, it's very, very simple, and it just kind of keeps getting repeated over and over and over again. But as time goes on, I keep adding and adding and adding, just like one extra note. So ta-ti-ta, ta-ti-ta, ta. Ta-ti-ta, ta, ta-ti-ta, ta, 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 ta-ti-ta, and it just keeps kind of mushrooming up like that. But it was in G major, and I'd never really written a piece in G major before. I kind of usually stay away from that key, so kind of a different area for me to go here. But the piece also, this second piece, comes from the War Suite, which the War Suite is a piece I wrote back in November of 2018, because it was actually the 100-year anniversary of World War I. And I wrote this entire piece by researching letters that were written by soldiers in World War I, newspaper articles, looking at the sheet music for the tunes that were used, like kind of as propaganda songs and everything like that. And built this my longest piece to date. When I actually played it at the concert, it was an hour-long concert, and the whole concert was basically dedicated to that piece. And that piece is made of 5 movements. But the middle movement is this one right here that was kind of dedicated as a love song, because I also came across these letters between soldiers and their wives or their significant others, their girlfriends, that sort of thing. And I couldn't believe the things that they were having to just write to each other about being separated on complete opposite ends of the world, separated by a war. And it really helped put perspective on kind of the long distance relationship I was having with this person. And so I wanted to write this piece kind of about that feeling of separation, but also keeping it in perspective. And, I think I even wrote this in here. Yeah, to find inspiration, I had been reading so many letters written by soldiers, separated from their wives, yearning to be together again. It made me grateful for the long-distance relationship I had with my girlfriend. At least we were both gazing at the shooting stars together, aware that we're looking at the same night sky, even though we're miles apart. Soon, however, turmoil brews. Of course, can't keep these pieces simple, right? And if you listen closely, you'll notice that there are 3 encoded messages scattered throughout the piece. And I'm going to leave the last little bit out. You'll have to get the CD to find out what else is going on in that music. So let's get to some signing here. Actually get the work done we got to do tonight. So, here we go. This CD is going to be for Miss Barbara Bartels, or Barb as she likes to be called. Barb, thank you so much. Time and time again, you really are like my biggest fan, supporting me. Barb is a patron on my Patreon page. Every time she's in the area, we make sure to grab a bite to eat together, and she's always giving me good feedback. She was kind of scrutinizing the choice of color for the artwork and everything like that. Always just kind of willing to talk about strategy with me and how I'm going to build this music thing. And it's kind of the funniest thing, the way we met. Barb was just kind of carrying some things out to her car one day, and I just noticed her, and I offered to help her, and I guess that stuck with her because Barb is always reminding me and people of that, like, oh, I met him when he helped me carry stuff out to my car, and ever since then she's come to all my concerts and obviously supported me here. So this one is for Barb. Thanks so much, Barb. We got George and Joyce. Kind of similar deal. Next door neighbors. Sometimes, when you guys aren't in Canada, when you're down here in Florida enjoying the sunshine. And same thing, you guys come to concerts all the time. I think I remember the first concert you guys came to. This is really kind of what I call the wow effect, I guess, or that light bulb moment, when it's kind of the first time for someone to really engage with classical guitar music, especially in a live setting. I've really kind of taken it upon myself to communicate how special this music is, because for me, the first time I ever heard classical guitar music, I was actually a rock and roll heavy metal head, and I was not prepared for what I was about to hear when I first saw the classical guitars for the first time. And so I try to replicate that aha light bulb moment for other people too when they come to a concert. And I distinctively remember these guys having that sort of experience, and so this is going to be sent right up to Canada to you guys, and CDs are going to be shipping out this week. So if you still want the pre-order pricing and to get it signed, the link should be in the video there. So George and Joyce, Christopher Williams. This next one's for Christopher Williams. Chris Williams was the drummer in our college heavy metal band. So like I said, I started in heavy metal. That's where I kind of got some of my guitar chops. And we were trying to do the most complicated things in this heavy metal music, but at the same time, I had no musical training. This was all just me trying to teach myself. So Chris Williams was a drummer, and I could not stay in beat with him to save my life. One night, Chris, you and I, we stayed up until probably 4 or 5 in the morning, practicing just one passage, trying to get it to where I could lock in with the drum beat. And I'm obviously over the top grateful for your patience with me and for sticking through that. Now Chris is actually a self-employed audio engineer. He went off and got his degree in audio engineering and is working on some very famous podcasts, national podcasts, big stuff. And one day we're gonna get together and do some recording together as well. You should definitely he's got some recorded music out there too. I'll have to remember to put a little link in the comments to his podcast recording and stuff like that. But Chris, thanks so much, buddy, for supporting it and for supporting the music. Laura Parsons, this CD is for you. Again, similar thing, always supporting me, in the email list. If you guys aren't on my email list, shoot me a message and I'll get you there. I like to just kind of share stories about what I'm learning as I'm encountering new music and new art and everything like that, and just kind of try to provide some new insights on how to look at things, enjoy them, appreciate them, and everything like that. And Laura is always very receptive to those things, always bouncing ideas back at me, and obviously wants to see this music keep growing. So thank you so much, Laura. This is for you. Colleen Alward, yes, Colleen. I think you're in the New Port Richey crowd yourself as well. So, kaboom. Again, we just did that really little concert up in New Port Richey, and it was very different dynamic than any concert I've done before. And I think I told you guys the story leading up to the concert. My mentor kind of recommended, hey, how about you try, adding, these EPs. And I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. And sure enough, a lot of folks were like, oh man, I can't come to the concert in New Port Richey. I'm so sorry. And so then I was able to say, well, hey, I've got this EP coming out. Would you like to, take a look at that? And Colleen did that, so I really appreciate it. Little did Colleen know, I still hadn't even planned what was going to be on the EP. So once people started pre-ordering it, I was like, oh, well, I guess we got to make it. And so this one's coming right to you, Colleen, and I appreciate you supporting the music and going from there. And let me know if you guys got any questions. I'm wondering, maybe I should ask a question. We'll see if anybody catches on here. But what is the last song or piece of music you listened to? Let me know in the comments. What's the last song or the last piece of music you listened to today? If you're deaf, well, that's unfortunate. But that reminds me of a story. Maybe I'll have to tell the story again of the deaf woman who asked me to play the guitar for her. It was a pretty cool story. If you guys want to hear the story of the deaf woman who asked me to play guitar for her, shoot me a message or get on my email list. I think I'll recount that story again here in a sec. Oh, boom. All right. This one is for Mr. Adam Dahlberg. Adam Dahlberg. Adam is a good friend, a brother from church, and he came to a concert I did a while back, a charity concert we were doing for a mutual friend, and actually premiered the last piece on this CD. The last piece, Scar Letter Red, a Chaconne Across Three Movements. And to this day, he always reminds me of that one, because it's kind of got the ending. It's kind of the really, really angry ending at the end. And he's always recounting how that left an effect. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, cool. That's what we were going for, is to stick it in you and twist it a little bit, and leave an impact. So I'm glad that that concert and this piece left that impact. And so, yeah, Adam, now you get to listen to it whenever you want. I'll talk about that piece, because it's the last piece on the CD. I'll talk about that towards the end of this Facebook Live tonight, right before wrapping up. Okay, well, I'm going to speed through these ones, because these ones are going to my mom. I actually already gave her one. She was the first one to get a CD when they first arrived. So I'm going to get these 5 CDs up to them. But thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. Really, obviously, I could not do any of this without you guys. Maybe in the last Facebook Live, you heard some of my adoption story. So they've been huge supporters all the way through. They bought me my first drum set for Christmas. They grounded me from my drum set all the time because it was so loud. So I think like a year later, they bought me my first guitar as a birthday gift so that I could practice something that didn't make nearly as much noise as the drums. So that's why I'm not a drummer and I'm a guitarist, is because my parents couldn't stand all the noise. But luckily, that meant I got to stick through it and write all of this cool classical guitar music. So my mom and dad, they've heard the CD. They were some of the first people to hear it. So I'm going to be sending up some extra copies to them. Appreciate it, guys. Nice, Joe. Wow. I don't even know what... I don't even actually know what that song is, Joe. Old Dominion. Yeah, okay. You should link in the comments if it's appropriate. I'm trying to think, what was the last song I listened to? Yeah, in case you guys are just now tuning in, I asked a question: what's the last song or piece of music you've listened to today? I'm gonna have to go with the last piece. I was just cooking dinner and I was listening to Nine Inch Nails. The song was "Copy of a." It's just kind of like over and over, a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a by Nine Inch Nails. It's kind of one of my guilty pleasure bands right now. But, you know, whatever you got to do to get some inspiration while writing this edgy new contemporary classical stuff. I guess I should kind of describe the music a little bit to you guys. Forewarning, it's not all nice, easy listening, relaxing, wine dinner type classical guitar. I mean, it's, you know, to me it sounds pretty urgent. To me it sounds pretty extreme. But to other people that have listened to like the singles off of here, they've kind of said like, oh, it's so nice, and like I just put it on repeat and I love relaxing to it. And I'm like, not meant to be a relaxing piece of music, but you know, if you're putting it on repeat, I'm not going to complain. But yeah, definitely the last piece goes out with, well, it goes out with a bang that turns into a whimper. I'll put it that way. The last piece goes out with a bang that turns into a whimper. And, oh, yes. So last time you guys might have noticed on the first Facebook Live just 2 days ago, Hannah actually pre-ordered this CD. So Hannah, this is going out to you. Hannah, look up Hannah Kim Soprano. Just go on Facebook and search Hannah Kim Soprano. Kim is her last name. And she's located out west, and her technique, you know, is incredible. She's actually composing some original music herself. She's been helping me a lot out as we figure out how to grow our music careers and kind of create campaigns to engage with guys like folks like you, and get to know, you know, our supporters better and create what the things that they want. And so she's given me all sorts of advice and help, and you should really check out her music, Hannah Kim Soprano. While I'm signing these, I watched a pretty interesting TED Talk the other day. Something about the signatures of the most famous men, or like the big great leaders throughout time, and kind of talking about like how the more artsy folks, they have big loops in their signatures. Leaders like Einstein or Steve Jobs, the way they crossed their T's kind of all correlates. You know, if you're a visionary and that sort of thing. So kind of interesting. I'm trying to, you know, hack my signature here. Hack my signature for better results. Alrighty. Alright, we're down to the last few CDs, so thanks for sticking out this long with me. I gotta sign these CDs anyways, so it's kind of fun to hang out and chill with folks. This one is to Susie Anthony. Susie, we met at the Newport Richie concert as well. And Susie is just an incredible personality. Oh, cool, Joe. Yeah. Okay, Joe linked to the song. There we go. So I'll have to check it out here in a minute. We'll see what's up here. if anybody else is logging on, I just asked a question. What's the last piece of music or the last song that you listened to? Let me know down in the comments. I want to hear it. The last one I listened to was A Copy Of by Nine Inch Nails. So, yeah, I'll have to check that out here in a minute. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, Susie. So, Susie is kind of doing something very similar to the Facebook Lives I'm doing here, except hers are very, very, very encouraging, inspirational, and just kind of downloading tons of value into folks. And she's doing those like way more often than I'm able to do them. So yeah, you should definitely check out Susie, one of my greatest supporters. She's always giving me like emotionally encouraging feedback as I'm releasing more and more music. She's always one of the first to go and listen to something, and like I said, to provide that feedback. So Susie, thanks so much, and thanks so much for your prayers, and I can't wait to keep sharing this music with you. And similar to Mr. Peter, or similar to Susie, is Mr. Peter. Peter Papalo, you'll see him on my Facebook page pretty often as well. And same thing, Peter came to the Newport Richie concert. We, honestly, it's a funny story. I've never stepped foot in Newport Richie before, never played in Newport Richie before. And I was experimenting with a new model of marketing to build a fan base in a place that I've never been to before, and then to turn that into a concert. And so I got there to the venue, and I was getting all set up and everything like that, and then people started kind of arriving. So I went kind of back around the corner, backstage. It was a small art gallery, but it was kind of like what I was calling the backstage. And I kind of snuck back there just to, kind of stay out of the way, have the whole mysterious musician vibe, that sort of thing. And Peter comes chasing me around and following me, and comes up, gives me a big bear hug. I'm like, I haven't even met you yet, man. And so we're hitting it off. And turns out, he's a drummer. He's got his own band in the Newport Richie area. Just a really accomplished musician himself. So if you're ever in that area, definitely go hear him live. You'll see Peter just kind of in the community here on my Facebook page a lot of times. And of course, we always get to chat about music stuff. But both Susie and Peter, they're awesome, because Susie, she plays the piano and sings, and Peter plays the drums and sings. And so not only are they giving me like that kind of emotional, keep going sort of thing, but they give me insights into actually performing and playing and writing music, which is huge. So this one is for Peter, but he also got a second one for his sister. Oh, and this, okay, well, should I spoil the surprise? I don't know if I should spoil the surprise. I will condense the surprise. I'm not going to quite spoil it. But Peter and I, and soon Susie, you don't know this yet, Susie, but soon you're going to be in the same situation. Peter and I are embarking on something that I think is very different. I haven't seen any musician do it online, and I especially have not seen any classical musician do it online. So Peter and I are, in a sense, partnering on something that I think is going to be a very, very memorable experience, not just for Peter, but for his family as well. And it's a really cool opportunity for me to, in a sense, serve them through the music, through the skills I've been working so hard to build kind of behind the scenes. So we will be releasing lots of content about that. The more and more the sooner and sooner it comes to the release. But I'll just tell you, it does have to do with writing a piece of music. And as we get close to releasing that music, I'll obviously share all the details. But Susie, I'm going to be asking if you want to take part in a very similar experience with the music. I think it's going to be something very unique that, like I said, I don't see any other musicians doing online yet, especially classical musicians. So should be cool. Alrighty. Now we're getting to the last stretch of CDs. These ones are all going to my patrons on patreon.com. So if you have not checked out patreon.com/EdwinCulver, you should definitely go check it out. That is my behind the scenes place. That's where you get to actually see the compositional process as it unfolds. So I actually provide lots of video content and other things, behind the scenes photos and write-ups and letters and stuff like that. And so each one of these pieces was actually made possible by my patrons on patreon.com. And the way Patreon works is you volunteer to support me on a monthly basis, and I kind of just keep you on the know and show you the piece as it's unfolding. I oftentimes will start by just showing the original sketches of the music, and then I will show the final copies. There's different tiers, so some people actually get a copy of the score mailed to them. Some people like to just kind of you get a vote on, like, okay, what's my next video going to be about, if I'm talking about the music history, and lots of other stuff, more than I can go into right here. But if you just check out patreon.com/EdwinCulver, anybody who signs up there does get a copy of this for free. And so these next several CDs are going to be going out to my patrons. And actually, and I should say that Barb, earlier, she is one of my patrons. Yeah, I think she was my first patron. So she's actually going to get 2 CDs. I'm going to make sure I get her 2 CDs. But this one is for my grandparents. They also were, they also are one of my patrons, and so this one is going to them as well. Very similar to my grandparents. Couldn't do any of this without them and without their support. There's a lot of things I've learned from my parents or grandparents. My grandfather is very entrepreneurial by nature. He is an entrepreneur, and he's been retired for decades, probably. But he's the hardest worker I know out of anybody. People my age, I don't know anybody who can work as hard as him. I don't know anybody as strong as him. His calves are insane. And so coming along with that is, over the years, he's taught me lots of lessons about leveraging things, and obviously doing an excellent job and staying the course, and providing value with folks in a customer type relationship. And so that, a lot of this visioneering that I've been working on lately, a lot of that kind of on a deeper subconscious level all started with him. And then my grandmother's just constant feedback. She's always interacting with the posts on Patreon, always letting me know what sort of things she liked, what sort of content she liked learning about when it comes to the music and that sort of thing. I see we keep getting more people here. Let me know what's the last piece of music. Can I edit this? I don't know. It's gonna be tricky on a phone, because I should have put that in the description. But I don't know if I can see the Facebook Live here on my laptop. Anybody else on Facebook Live much? Oh, boom, there I am. Let's see if I can add this. Wow, this is trippy, seeing myself. comment below, like Joe did. What's the last song or piece of music you've listened to today? All right, that's fun. Oh, okay, yeah. All right, Joe put this one up. Good, awesome. I'll add mine. But yeah, let me know, guys. What's the last piece of music you've listened to today or lately? I just posted mine in the comments. All right, so CD. Back to the CD. Patrons. Did I? Yeah, that one was for my grandparents. Oh. Mr. Isaac Morrison. Mr. Isaac Morrison gets 2 because he pre-ordered another one the other day when I was doing the other Facebook Live. Well, you might have heard me talking about Chris Williams, the drummer in my heavy metal band, or our heavy metal band back in college. Mr. Isaac Morrison was the other guitarist in our heavy metal band, and we were actually roommates in college for the last couple of years. And so we were always jamming, always bouncing ideas off of each other, writing these long, 18-minute long, intricate heavy metal epic songs. And, too much fun. Kind of wish we could always get that band back together and create even more out of it. Would be really fun. But Isaac is one of my patrons as well, because, we actually live in the same state, but we just don't really ever get to see each other. And he's always been very informative and kind of like a stabilizer as I'm writing stuff. Always willing to bounce ideas back and forth and that sort of thing. And always sharing about this music to folks around him. So really appreciate that, Isaac. Let's run this. These weren't the best pens, though. I'll have to get better pens next time. Let's check here. Mr. Shane Fife, another patron of mine. Joe, yes. I need to hear the 18-minute epic metal opus. I do think, like 2 years ago or so, Chris, the drummer, I do think he emailed me like a MIDI export from like Guitar Pro or whatever. Sounds atrocious, but it gets the point across of what we wrote. And yeah, it was pretty fun. Obviously, you won't be able to hear the vocal lines in that, but I'll see if I can't send that to you, Joe. The 18-minute epic metal opus. If anybody else wants to hear the 18-minute epic metal opus, shoot me a message, and maybe I'll share that. I don't know. I might be too embarrassed to. We'll see. But this one goes to Mr. Shane Fife, and he's a local friend and brother, and we hang out at church together a lot. We get lunch together all the time, just kind of share life with each other. But he's got a very keen vision for the arts and kind of their importance in society in general. And he's a real thinker. I should say you, in case you're watching, because I'm going to email this to everybody afterwards. But yeah, Shane. You've always got some really great insight. You're always asking questions about how the music's going, what the process is like. Like I said, he is one of my patrons, so he's been supporting the writing of this music every step of the way. And yeah, can't thank you enough, buddy. And let's keep going through the list here. Oh, yes. case you can't see this, that's my Patreon page. I want to make sure I don't forget anybody here. But I do know the next one's going to be for Mr. Andy Heitke. Mr. Andy Heitke. Another friend and brother through church. Oh, come on. You don't have to verify this computer. Well, anyways. Supporting me on Patreon ever since I started the Patreon page. And it actually helped with some of the filming of the content, some of the creation of the content. And if you guys haven't checked it out before, go to my YouTube page and you'll see some videos of pieces I've written. Actually, you'll be able to see some of the pieces on this CD. And what I would do is I'd do a live run through of the piece, and we'd kind of try to record it and kind of do a demo version of it. But I also kind of talk real quickly, like the meaning behind the piece, which I am going to tell everybody the meaning behind the last piece on this CD at the end of this video. But we... So Andy's actually helped with some of that filming, actually let us do it in his house one time. I think it's the Riddles Without Heaven, Riddles Without Answer, Rise Like Heaven, that piece, the piece that was inspired by China. He let me record that in his house real quick, and it was kind of a whirlwind sort of deal. We recorded it in his house, and I basically had to... I got to China and I shot a video of myself talking in China, kind of about the writing of the piece. I was up in this skyscraper in Hong Kong and talked about, all the sounds you're going to hear in this piece and kind of the textures and the greater meaning behind the piece, how it kind of grapples with language and the misunderstandings that people have when, there's two people from two different languages trying to communicate with each other. And so then I kind of had to get that uploaded with the stuff that we recorded in Andy's house and that sort of thing. So he's, very, very supportive of this and, an integral part of the writing of this music. So yeah, this is not a, one-man job here. It really does take a team of other people getting their input, obviously getting their help with just the, for lack of a better word, set, having an environment where you can make this music and record it and make it professional and a whole host of other things. So this one's for you, Andy. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I do believe that is the end of our list, folks, unless someone pre-orders a last one here. I got about 4 minutes till I gotta go. I gotta talk with some folks over in China. But let's see what we got here. Should probably check my messages. I can check and see if we can find that heavy metal opus, that 18-minute long heavy metal opus. I don't know though. Someone is trying to log in to Patreon. Yes, I tried logging into my Patreon. Here we go. Oh, I do, for my patrons, I did mean to post a update for the piece of music I'm writing right now. The problem is, it's about China, and I'm going to be going to China and visiting China in just about 2 weeks, and I'm going to be staying there for a little while. And the piece could be considered political in nature. Definitely, it would be the most affrontly political piece that I've written up to this point. And given some of the events that are happening currently in China right now, like literally unfolding over these last few weeks, and still kind of up in the air what direction the scale is going to end up tipping on things without mentioning specifics. The piece is deeply inspired by the events in China. And I just kind of realized it's probably not best to post that stuff online right now, right before I go over. So that piece, who knows? Maybe it'll have to go in the drawer once I finish writing it. But it's a pretty cool piece, I think. Uses a technique called polytonality. I actually got 2 key signatures happening at the same time. Let's see what we got here. Oh, of course. I knew I was forgetting one more. Miss Yvonne. Or I should say Mrs. Yvonne Lawler. Now, Yvonne, funny story. This is the last one, guys, so you got, like 60 seconds or so to pre-order the last of these CDs because I'm getting through the box here. And these are going to start shipping this week. So, last chance to pre-order the CD, but Mrs. Yvonne, wonderful, wonderful lady with a British accent. I was performing live in downtown Sarasota one evening, and she and some of her friends, just happened to be there listening, and they enjoyed it. And she came running up to me afterwards and kind of said, I'm going back over to England in a couple of weeks, and I'm bringing with me a guitar to give to my grandchildren, and I would love to be able to play something for them when I get over there. And so we ended up doing a few guitar lessons together, and ever since have stayed in touch. She added me, became one of my patrons, and like I said, been supporting every piece of music I'm writing. She's come to my concerts since then. It was really cool. We did a concert recently where a couple of my patrons were both there at the same time, and so they got to meet each other and kind of high five each other and that sort of thing. It was really cool, humbling moment to see these kind of connections being formed, and at the center of it all being this music. So thank you so much, Yvonne. Alrighty, guys. So I got to run because I got to talk to some folks over in China. Going to be over there for the next couple weeks. Basically got down to the bottom of this bottle. CDs are going to start shipping this week, and I don't think there's anything else that I need to recount. So until next time, guys, stay musical.